Life. Oh,
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone to the July 18th Board of Directors monthly meeting. Paul, do you want to go ahead and take roll? Certify the quorum and approve the minutes.
So we have Matt Barker, Joe Mulcahy, Jim Carter, Daniel Monks here present, and on Zoom we have George Custis, Eve Roper, and Brian McCaden. So we have a full quorum, and the meeting can proceed.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Paul sent out to the board previous board meeting notes for review. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review them. Any comments or additions? And if not, can I get a motion to approve?
Approve.
Seconded. Okay, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll just jump right into the agenda with the brief president's report. I'm happy to publicly announce that the airport gate is finally open. I'm sure that everybody here has seen that or seen the note. And I was up early in the morning that it was to take a drive down there and make sure that the news that it was open was actually open. So it opened earlier this week. It's also important to note that Bob Giannetti of the CDD has indicated that the gatehouse renovation project for Tamiami 41 entrance will not begin until after Easter of 2025, and that's great news. So it won't be happening while we have everyone down here. It will be start after Easter. It's also my understanding that the CDD will be going out to bid for this final Pelican Marsh gatehouse. Hopefully with the new contractor selected, the construction will go more smoothly and timely than the other two gatehouses. It's also my understanding that while we have time between finishing up these two and starting of the new one, the Vanderbilt and the airport, that we're also going to be doing some cosmetic changes to these gatehouses, but that will not interrupt the access of these two entrances. The roof on the community center and the pro shop is now complete. Personally, I think it really turned out well, even better than expected. We've received nothing but positive comments from the residents about the look of the new roofs. I believe that Paul's going to share additional comments about the roof inspection and insurance in his update, so I'll leave that to him. And next year, we have scheduled the painting of the community center and the pro shop, so these buildings will look even better next year after we paint. For those of you that are here this summer, you can see that the pickleball construction project is underway. The bushes and palm trees adjacent to the entrance have already been removed. AstroTurf along pickleball courts have also been removed, and Paul will share an update on the timeline and the remainder of the project in his update. Courtside restaurants open now 6 days a week for the summer, and we've been working with Susan Cousins to provide music on Thursday nights. This seems to be going well and driving additional bar and food sales. Year to date, the restaurant's doing well financially and ahead of last year. We appreciate all your support of this valuable amenity and encourage everyone to continue to support Courtside. The parking lots resurfacing project will begin next week. Paul will share details of this project and restaurant closure while this project is being completed. And finally, at the executive meeting just last week, we went over a list of potential capital improvement ideas that Paul's been collecting from the board and residents in the community. We plan to schedule an open workshop with the board over the next month or so to review the current ideas, potential costs, and have an open discussion with the community about any other ideas for future improvements. We'll prioritize and approve and schedule some of these improvements for 2024 and 2025, and more to come on this over the coming weeks. That's it for me from a president's report. Any comments or questions from other board members before I turn it over to Paul for the manager's report?
I think it would be nice to see some pictures posted of the new roof on our Facebook page. Is that possible?
Yes, so I will get out, take some nice pictures of the roofs and get that posted to the website and also our Facebook page so people can see it.
Would be nice for all of us that are not there and can't admire the new roof and would like to, so.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, so the summer months are when we get our needed maintenance and other projects done around the community center. As Joe stated, the installation of the new roofs for the community center pro shop were just completed last week, and I agree the metal roof looks even better than I thought it would. This new metal roof should last a minimum of 30 years, if not more, and be more resistant to bad weather. And it's definitely going to lower our future property insurance premiums, which is a plus. As Joe also mentioned, we have two other big projects upcoming. For the pickleball courts, it's starting this Monday. We'll be coming in and demoing the existing courts and making room to build the 6 new tournament style courts. The project's estimated to last about 3 months, or maybe a little more. And the target, hopefully, is to have the courts reopened back by the 1st of November. In the interim, while the courts are down, we will be listing a area pickleball course to play on during the construction, and they'll be available in the pro shop, and we'll also put it on the website, so you know where to go to play pickleball in the interim. Also next week, as Joe mentioned, is on the 25th to the 28th, which is Thursday through Sunday. The community center parking lot will be closed as we'll be repaving it. So during this repaving, we're going to arrange to have parking to be available on the west side of the tennis courts, and we'll post signage directing you how to get to this area. And additionally, courtside will also be closed on these days while the parking lot is being repaved. So they'll be sending an email of that notice. In the May board meeting, it was agreed by the board to research of implementing electronic voting for the community. So since then, we've been researching it and found providers that can provide that service for us. So the next steps is that the board has to officially notice this procedure of implementing it to the membership, which we'll do in the upcoming October Pelican brief. And the meeting will be noticed in that brief for the November board meeting, where the board can officially vote to implement the electronic voting. Once that's done, we can move forward then, and the company we choose to do the electronic voting will then reach out to all the membership here in Pelican Marsh and provide them forms that would need to be filled out so they can opt in to allow electronic voting. And therefore, those members from their point out will not get the mailings during the regular mail, but we're getting the electronic versions of the voting. The more people who sign up for electronic voting, the better for us, because it saves us on the mailing. So we really encourage people to sign up for the electronic voting. For those residents who are up north for the summer, just as a reminder that you're still required to maintain and clean your home while you're away. It's also a good idea to have a home watch person or a friend lined up to monitor your home to make sure nothing happens or prevent any unforeseen issues that may arise. Lastly, please make sure that you're registered on the Pelican Marsh website and have downloaded the Pelican Marsh app on your phone. This is the best way for us to keep you updated and connected on what's happening in Pelican Marsh. And a lot's happening right now this summer, so we want to keep you updated on what's happening. And lastly, the staff and I always appreciate everyone's support they provide us every day. And we just look forward to a busy summer and hoping for a upcoming busy season. And that's my report.
Okay, I have a question, Paul. Did you say that the court side is going to be closed just those 4 days, Thursday through Sunday, that the parking lot's going to be torn up?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
The first 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, those remain open.
Okay. Any other questions of Paul? All right, Nathaniel, treasurer's report. Thank you. Paul's going to put the treasurer's report on the screen. So I forgot my reading glasses, so I'll need the screen up there. Especially when we get into the fine print. This is for the treasurer's report for the first half of the year through the end of June. We have an operating surplus, $75,656, which is $24,422 better than budget. That's mainly due to very positive results in fitness and court sports and our interest income. This is our second year of getting interest income. It's beautiful, and it's even better so far than last year. And in past years, interest income was a rounding error, and now it's a really nice piece of income. The operating revenues year to date were nearly $12,000 better than budget, mostly due to higher interest income. Our expenses were over budget in $10,616, mainly due to the fact that our income has increased so much in some of those categories that I mentioned, that the people that pay with a credit card, then our credit card fees are higher than we expected, just simply because our income is higher. So it kind of offsets itself up in the top part. Also, even though we anticipated higher insurance premiums and we budgeted higher insurance premiums than what we expected, it just got even worse because of our roof failing the inspection. So right at the end of the year last year, after we had made our budget, we got slapped with this huge insurance premium that we weren't expecting. So that's part of the reason we're over budget, part of the reason we rushed the roof, part of the reason we now have a wonderful roof that should last for a very long time. We also had some computer and software issues, and we paid for, in operations, we pay for the, in administration, we pay for the computers out of operating costs and not out of the capital account. So that made our operations a little higher than expected. Good news on the restaurant. Even though, you know how it is when a restaurant's brand new, everybody rushes over there and then their sales dip later. Their sales have not dipped. Their sales are actually up compared to last year. This is very good for us because we pay them a little bit of a subsidy based on how much their sales were. The larger their sales, the less the subsidy we have to pay, even though it's already small. So things are going good there. These air conditioners in there will help. I think you're going to see an even bigger jump next month because last year, July was terrible bad in the restaurant, and this year it's going pretty decent. They've got music in the restaurant every week also, and that's helping keep the interest up. That's been good. The resale fees is another bit of good news. We anticipated not a whole lot of houses selling because interest rates shot up. People's cost of money went up, and we're actually up. We anticipated 35 houses selling by the end of the half of the year, the end of June, and it's 40 instead of that, 35. So we got $300,000. They exceeded budget by $37,500. We have completely funded our reserve account, the replacement account, for the whole year. We've already paid the whole year's funding into that account, so we don't have to put any more money in there the rest of the year. So every time a house sells, that resale fee entirety goes into the capital account, which is an at-will account. So it's not actually what we can't be under budget and hurt ourselves in any way, shape, or form. Everything is taken care of that has to be taken care of already for this whole year with those resale fees and the money that comes from it. Every year, unlike some of your HOA neighborhoods, we do pay for an audit. We get audited every year. We go out and hire a good auditing company, and they charge us a lot of money, and they dig through our records for quite a while, and they look for everything they can that we might have possibly done wrong, and they just finally finished up auditing last year. Last year, they finished the audit for 2023, and they gave us all their findings, and they were apparently impressed because they couldn't find much to criticize. They said a couple things, this number should be in that column and that number should be in that column. They could find nothing at all of the malfeasance, no money misspent, everything looks good. They couldn't even find bad attitudes. So the audit was with the flying colors. So we're glad to get that out of the way. The treasurer's report is on our website. And so anytime you want to look at any of this stuff that we go over here in the next few minutes, or what I've said here previously, you can get on the website and look at it. Also, Paul and I, anytime you want to, flag us down and we can give you whatever you did not understand. Let's go on to page 2, please. Okay, as you remember, we have 3 accounts. And the one I talked about already was the operating fund, which is where your HOA fees go into. That's the farthest left column. You can see that we started out the year with $482,000. Right now, we've got $2.3 million because we have all of your HOA fees in there, and we're spending them slowly. And every so often, we have to write checks, and we're going to have to write a big one to Comcast later. So that account is right where it should be. The replacement fund is actually funded earlier in the year than has to be. And you can see that it has at the bottom of the second column, 450,000 in it. We have, you see the expenditures in the parentheses in the middle, the 170,000. That is our first payment on the roof, right? That's our first payment on the roof. We anticipate, of course, when the final inspection's done, finishing paying for that. And then there'll be plenty of money left over for everything that's on the replacement schedule. We should be fine for that for quite a while, even though next year about this time, it'll be a lot of money in that account, I hope. Capital account is the as needed account, as wished account. The board can spend out of that to improve your amenities, and we're doing that with the pickleball, and they're going to start ripping that out. What day do they start ripping that out? Probably Monday. So Monday they'll start ripping out the pickleball. We've already given them half the money, I believe. There's a 70. Is it the 188,000? Is that 188,000? The capital fund is most of that pickleball.
Most of it's pickleball.
Most of it is pickleball prepayment, and then there's other things, of course, that we've had to replace and fix. But then we'll have another big check to the pickleball replacement people, U.S. Tennis, whenever they get done with our pickleball. And then there'll still be money in that account, and it'll be gaining money each house sale. Next page.
So before you
Yes, sir.
move on, Nathaniel, the capital fund, after the pickleball court is all paid for,
Yes.
you roughly bid about 100,000.
Yeah, if houses were to stop selling, we would be at about 100,000. But houses won't stop selling, so every time a house sells, there'll be another 7,500 in there. And we have a lot of houses getting sold right now. The paperwork's already in our office. And so I anticipate that next time you see me give this report, I'm going to say, wow, July was great for house sales, because it looks like it's going that way. So house sales are going good, so that means the capital fund is going up. Did I answer your question, brother? Okay, thank you. Good question. Page 3. Okay, here's where you see in our income, the fitness, revenues is the very top line. You see, this is kind of crazy. Look at that, 320,000 essentially, 320,000. And then we budgeted 231, but last year was 256. So that's a huge percentage that fitness has jumped. This is people get their exercise massages, their instructions on how to exercise, massages, the facials, whatever. That's what that is. So that is really good. And the surplus there is 45,000. In court sports, you see the same thing, a large trend upwards. People are getting lots of lessons, buying t-shirts and things like that. And we're doing better than budget there. The merchandise is the next column below that. A little bit of a dip off in the surplus in the merchandise. We had a really great year last year in merchandise, and it will probably pick up as it goes on. Social, we always try to break even. The activity centers down at the bottom, the total is better than expected. It's at minus 70,000, and we anticipated minus 90 at this point. And then you see down at the bottom, we have a budget of $10,000 for incidentals at food and beverage, and we've only spent about 1,000 of that. Next page. Here's how you see what I mentioned earlier about the resale fees. The resale fees, we total, there were 47 houses sold. 7 of them were Pelican Marsh E's moving around within Pelican Marsh. So they left 40 that had to pay a fee. We planned on 35. And by the end of the year, hopefully it's 65 or even more. The money at the bottom, you'll see that we'll move the money from each resale fee from where it goes by bylaw into the 3 accounts. And then this board has taken it from those accounts and put it all into the reserve account, replacement account until it was funded. And now we're putting it all into the capital account. None of it's going to be spent in the operations account. Next page. That's the last page. As good as it gets. It was a very good month, a good half of the year. Thank you, guys. Okay, thank you, Nathaniel. We'll jump back to the agenda. Number 9, new business. 9.1 is the approval of appointments to the Design Review Committee. Several months ago, Paul sent out a message to the community requesting volunteers to be part of the design review committee. We had 6 applicants. The board and Paul interviewed all 6 candidates, and we have we're here to announce the appointment of those and approve the appointments of the 4 candidates. Those new members would be Ann Weaver, Candace Calabro, Rick Galliford, and Susan Gregory. I think Candace is here. I don't know. Hello, thank you for 3 people here. Thank you very much. So I think we've already gone through this process in terms of going through the approval process, but we probably should.
I move that we vote them and that the board approves them to the design review committee.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for the people that, all 6 of the people and the 4 people that are going to be part of the board. Appreciate your participation in helping the community in this volunteer capacity. The next item up at 9.2 is discussion on term limits for committee members. I'm going to turn this over to you, Brian, for discussion, and if you'll also tag on to that, we can do that here, we can do it in board comments, but reviewing the guest policy with respect to the guest policy for pickleball and tennis.
Sure, I think it's best we keep those as two separate topics, and we'll definitely bring that up in a little bit. As everyone is aware, the foundation board members are able to serve 6 consecutive years. On some of the advisory committees, there's a informal policy that restricts membership to those committees to 6 consecutive years, but I think it's important that we establish some kind of guidelines for the community so that we're able to solicit fresh ideas and new input, and to also avoid 1 or 2 individuals from dominating the discussion within any particular committee. So I think it's important for us to define some term limits on our advisory committees. My thought is to make that consistent with the foundation board, that you couldn't have committee members serving more than 6 consecutive years. As the foundation board members know, I've circulated some language that addresses issues such as, what if we don't have any other candidates coming forward? What do we do in terms of people that have provided long-term service? And we don't want to really be punitive in developing this. We really want to look forward, and we want to make provisions, in my opinion, for those people to at least serve for 1 or 2 more years. But I think it's important for us to have the discussion, as I believe it to be true, Paul, that we need to provide the community. This would involve a modification to our bylaws, and we have to provide at least 14 days notice of what the written changes would be. So I just thought it was important for us to at least start that discussion today.
Paul, you want
He's correct, so 14 days notice is needed. The membership prior to any vote of changing the bylaws, so if the board chooses, I could get that notice out at the beginning of August, so we can present this language at the August board meeting.
Okay. Any other comments?
I do. Brian, when I first read through it, I thought, why did we wait this long? So congratulations, it's a great idea.
Thank you. Thanks.
I agree. I think it needs to be done. And I agree that we need to leave the person on the committee, even if they've been there 6 years, if no one wants to take their place. We don't want to make the committee weaker or smaller. But they should get at least 1 more year. We don't want to say, oh, just for a few more weeks or months till we find somebody. If we tell them that you're going to stay on the committee, we should let them have a year, if not 2. That's all I think.
So you're suggesting we grandfather all committee members who are currently serving 1 year before this kicks in?
Yeah, what I recommended, Jim, was that we ask committee chairs to document current years of service. Anybody currently serving with 4+ years of service would be grandfathered in with 2 additional years, and all other existing members would be limited to 6 consecutive years of service, including their current service to date.
Good answer, I like that.
Yeah. I do.
Fantastic. Okay.
Any other discussion on the topic?
No, I just would like to comment that the tournaments are a great idea, but I also want to point out how great it is that we can always find volunteers in Pelican Marsh. These are non-paid volunteer positions. People volunteer their time to participate, and I think that's absolutely awesome. So thank you for everybody that steps forward and does that. Putting the term limits on is, in my view, the right thing to do. I think Brian is making the right suggestion, and I'm on board with it. And it's because we want to give as many people a chance to participate as possible. So we may end up in a situation where we actually have to encourage people to step forward and serve on the board. But I think that's a good thing. So that turnover that Brian is trying to effect with the change, I think is the right move. And we have great volunteers, and I thank those volunteers for putting their personal time in as volunteers. But I also think we need to encourage people to step forward, because there are many great people in the community, and we've seen that on some of the different committees. And we want as many of those voices at the table as possible.
Thanks, Uwe. Thanks for all the board comments. Sounds like that we're all in agreement on that, on this topic. So, we'll add this to the, August agenda.
Right, and the proposed language to be added to the bylaws on the term limits would be included in the notice into membership. So we have aware of the language.
Audience comments on this, Brian, or not?
I suppose we can. That's fine. Yeah, do you have any comment?
Steve Burke, Deerfield. So this is a great idea. I applaud the board for moving in this direction. There are so many people with talent and interest in this community, especially for some of the communities. A suggestion, I think it would be administratively simpler and maybe better, maybe more in the community interest to consider running this the same way you run the board at the annual meeting. So if you have the board members terming out at the annual meeting and being replaced by newly elected board members, then committee members who term out could leave the committee at the annual meeting, and the new committee members could come in. This would give you a predictable turnover, and administrative control would be improved, I think, if you did this. I believe that in certain committees, there is great interest in the community in serving. And I understand that the impetus for this move is to include more voices and to include more people from the community in the process of serving on committees. So I'm not sure about what the grandfathering does as far as community interest goes. I know what it does as far as the people who are currently on the committee goes, but I'm not sure that this is something that, if there are numbers of people who are waiting to serve and have been waiting to serve, but a position has not been available because this has not been in effect all these years, I'm not sure how that helps the community. I think that another way to look at this is to say, at the 2025 annual meeting, those people who have served longer than the term, whatever the term the board decides is appropriate, if it's the same as the board term, then that's a 3-year term. The board members who serve 6 consecutive years run for re-election after a single 3-year term. So depending on how many people are interested in the community, for instance, if we have the XYZ committee where we have a dozen people interested in serving, it doesn't seem reasonable to me to extend this an arbitrary number of years, because I don't see how that really achieves your goal. The goal being to fresh ideas, fresh way of looking at things, and new points of view on these committees, which again, I think is a brilliant, wonderful idea. So to just sum up, I think that you might consider terming off the people who have served their terms at the annual meeting, just like the board members, makes everything easy. And if someone quits in the middle of the year, there's a process for that already. So in terms of the, getting, if you have a commitment, and as Nathaniel pointed out earlier, I think I heard you say this, the folks who might drop off in the middle of the year, or if there's a situation where there is not someone willing to serve on a committee, then the board could consider something like extending a current longest serving board member's term one more year and see how things go the following year. In other words, they get an additional year of service, and then we see if there's anybody interested. Obviously, you want to keep a full number of people on the committee. You want people engaged. Uwe's point that this, you should encourage community engagement in this regard is, I think, a good one. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Steve, for your comments. We'll take those under advisement, and we'll have a discussion about it between now and August meeting. Thank you.
Joe, just to Steve's last point, the proposed language I circulated does address the fact if there are not enough candidates that come forward, it provides a provision for existing board members who already served 6 years to be extended for another, what I proposed, 2 years, but we could look to fine tune that over the next month.
Yep, and Joe. Rich Benson.
Thank you. I'm Rich Benson. I live in Portofino. Yeah, I think it's always good to get new views. I'm just curious, are there a lot of people who've been serving like a lot of their 6 years on these committees? I'm not aware, but
I'm gonna have to investigate that after Steve's suggestion. I don't know. I'd like to look into it and see how many, if any, people we have that's already been there 6 years.
it would seem that before we do all these new rules, we should at least understand who would be affected and how that might.
Oh, well,
impact. So
I
that's
think
what
what we're doing is like the Supreme Court Justice said, we're writing a rule for the ages.
possibly. And the second thing is, considering, spousal involvement, could someone be on the board and have their spouse be on a committee A? Are those things that we want to consider as limitations? I mean, I can see where you could have, that situation occur. So when you take like.
Are you saying-
Global view,
Rich, are you saying on the committee or chairing a committee?
I'm not sure I'll leave that to you. I would say, certainly on, but certainly sharing is a factor.
Yeah, I think we should
I mean, I think,
discuss that.
I just think when you look at fresh blood, that's your motivation, fresh ideas. Maybe that should be a consideration too.
Yep.
Okay. And that's the first time I heard about it, so I just wanted to give you my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. We have one more person from the audience, Dino.
Good afternoon. Laura Sella Ariel. I currently serve as president of the budget committee, where we have basically been 3 people operating over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it may be. We dragged people in, tried to get people involved, and there are people that wanted to help and we wanted to involve. So what I would suggest is make sure that when you are proposing this, that you be careful that you don't collapse a committee and or an amenity, because for example, I believe that 2 of us are at 6 years, 5 and a half, maybe 6 years, that's when we started. Another one's probably at least 8 or 9 years. So what would happen is we would leave this committee vacated with one person that is doing a great job but may not have the experience for what's happened in the past or how to prevent things from happening. So it's really important when you have people that want to help throughout the community, all the different committees. But a lot of people don't have the time or the commitment or want to get involved. So you have to be very careful how you are putting this together so that you do have some cohesiveness and you don't destroy an amenity or collapse something that's either moving forward or is using that, the committee is being used in a way to make the product or the amenity better.
Would you recommend making the committee a little larger to help prevent that problem?
One of the things I've learned all the years I've been involved with boards and committees is the larger you are, the more chaos you have. If you have 5 people, which we can't get 5, in our particular committee, when you have 5 people, maximum of 7, it depends on when it has to do with alteration or has to do with rebuilding, whether it's the restaurant, the clubhouse, whatever it is. 7 people is the max, and it's good to have more opinions. But I feel that a lot of times when you have a committee that's larger than that, you just have a lot of, just everyone here, there, all these opinions, and nothing gets done. So I just feel that 5 or 7 is always a really good number when it comes to committees.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Dino, good points.
Just once again to clarify, Joe, one of the reasons I was suggesting, just to clarify, one of the reasons I was suggesting a grandfather clause is for what Dino's describing, just for the opportunity for that intellectual capital to transition from one person to the other and have that 2-year overlap. And also, once again, I would suggest building into any changes provision. If somebody is longstanding and there isn't other people who want to come forward, certainly providing the opportunity for them to continue to serve.
Brian, Dino was also making another point, and it could be pondered, that what if multiple members of a committee, or maybe all the members of a committee, would be affected at a very similar time? Would that be something we would need to write in, that in case more than half the committee is all going to be removed at once, that we could make a change? Or is it something we just let the dominoes fall where they may?
I think we'd have to address that on an individual case basis. Yeah.
Another alternative is you have 3-year terms and 2-year terms on a committee. That way you never completely wipe out a committee at any point because you have staggered terms. Now, it's a little more complicated, but it does begin to deal with the finance or budget committee situation. So that may be something we need to, Brian, to think about. And it may not apply to all committees, I don't know, but something like the finance certainly is an interesting point. You don't want to lose everybody at the same time.
As treasurer, I would definitely I would argue that the finance committee should not be affected by this rule. I don't want the finance committee to be termed out. These are experts that have a long knowledge of what we do and how to do it. And they're hard to find, and even harder to build in the institutional memory into them. So I would like for the finance committee to not be part of this term limits, for obvious reasons, unless there's some evidence that convinces me otherwise. I work with those 5 people month in, month out, and they're amazing. And I would hate to be trying to find some more amazing people to replace perfect or almost perfect.
We have yeah, come on up to the microphone.
Sure.
Welcome.
Welcome. I'm Bob Stevie. I'm at Pelican Timron Road. That's on my way. I think what you're trying to do here is balance fresh ideas with continuity. And I think one of the ways that that's usually done in reference to this gentleman's idea, 2-year terms, but stagger it so that if you have a committee of 5 people, you would have 2-year terms, but that second group of 3 or 2, depending upon the committee, would start 1 year later. So you would always have somebody left over to deal with the situation that you're concerned with. And I know finance is extremely complicated, but I think most of the time the situation could be resolved by having, and then with 2-year terms, when they get to the end of that 3rd term, that's the end of their service period. And if that's what you're looking for, 6 years. So my 2 cents worth.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item, Paul, is 9.3. Did we have any design review committee?
Yeah, there were no applications turned in this month for you.
Okay, so we can move on. Any other board member comments?
You mentioned about Brian, the idea of
Guest policy.
guest policy. Did you want to address that and the route you're going to take with that?
Yeah. What I'd like to do is have pickleball advisory committee and the tennis advisory committee, if we could get those two groups together over the, over the coming months. And just put this, I know you guys are working on the data stuff, if we could actually either at one of those meetings or have a separate meeting, maybe this summer, and take a look at the guest policy and see if it needs any modifications. Okay. Any other
I'd like
comments?
to just comment, sooner it'll be over, but again, that the primary elections, I mean, the elections for in Collier County, the big vote is 8/12, because that's where we find out for most of the times, those are people who are gonna win. My experience living here for so many years is seldom is there any change after the election that's gonna take place in August, the fall. 99% of the time, the people who are elected out of the primary, they're the ones that are gonna end up serving in office. This is precinct 251, this building. This is where people in Pelican Marsh vote. So for new people, it's good for them to know that. If you still haven't registered, you want to vote by mail, that has to be done by 7/22, which is Monday. So I encourage all of you to be paying attention. If you are a registered voter, right now you're getting slugs of candidate information in the mail. But if you're not paying any attention, I can only encourage you, as I said before, a school board has a $1.6 billion budget and 5 people make those decisions. 2 of them are up for re-election, including the candidate from District 2. So I encourage you to pay attention, because here, if you have a complaint, you always have access to the people you elect. This county is wonderful for that, whether it's a commissioner, whether it's a constitutional officer, school board member, you really have access. So if you don't pay attention and you complain later, I don't know what happened, shame on you. Because it's pretty easy to vote in Collier County. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Any resident comments, either here in the room or, Paul, do we have anybody online?
I see have one. One up there. Let's talk a marshal policy on the use of generators in the condos during hurricane season. That would go back to your individual condo association and their documents in the rules and regulations. Condos are very specific on the use of generators, so you need to go back to that.
Thank you. Okay, if we don't have any other comments, I need a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for attending, participating.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye, Dave. Bye, Brian. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Take care.